Hello, today I am building a castle in the Kingdom of Ondarian from the new expansion pack Royalty and Legacy. And thank you to The Sims for giving me early access to The Sims 4 Royalty and Legacy Grand Bundle, which includes the new expansion pack, the Silver Screen Style Kit, and the Tea Time Solarium Kit. And usually when a new pack comes out, I like to make a build that only uses the new stuff so I can better explore everything in the pack. So this castle only uses the base game, the royalty and legacy expansion pack, and the Tea Time Solarium kit. And you'll also see that during the speed build, I don't have G-Shade turned on so that you can see the swatches of all of the new stuff without any presets changing the colors of them in any way. The intro did have G-Shade though, so that's what it looks like when I'm usually just building for my channel and I have my preset on, but right now it is completely off, and so this is just all in-game colors. And you could see that I got a shape down pretty quickly. I just put down 3 towers, connected them somehow with different rooms and hallways so that I could actually make something out of the build. And I really loved these new fences that come with the pack. So when the pack got announced and I'd seen the trailer, I was I didn't think that it was going to be really for me because it felt like all of the items were very expensive and rich, and I don't usually build very expensive looking homes or castles. And so I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm gonna find anything in it, because normally I'd think of a castle pack, I'd be like, yeah, I could definitely get some things out of that because I love that style. And this one, when I had seen the trailers, I really wasn't sure yet. And it kind of felt like the expensive items in Get Famous. That's what I thought that it was going to be like. But when I actually sat down with the pack installed, I was very pleasantly surprised by everything. And there is, of course, those swatches that give that vibe. All of the gold and red sorts of swatches are that style that I thought wasn't really going to be for me and I wouldn't get much use out of. But most of the other swatches aren't like that. And so you'll see all the swatches that I really love and I used in my builds. And I was talking about the railings before, which is kind of what I got sidetracked for a second. But the railings were one of the first things that I'd taken a look at when I was actually building this. And I really love that we got 2 different versions of it. One has wisteria kind of climbing over the edge of it, and each of them has a sort of bouquet of flowers up top, or I guess a pot of flowers because it's outside in that sort of container. And I think it's really beautiful. And I got worried because when I was putting the fences in, it wasn't coming up as that, because it sort of works as an end piece for the fences. So I had to play around with it a little bit. I was trying half walls to see if I can force it to recognize as an end, but I managed to do it just by mixing 2 of the different fences in. So I have one that doesn't have the flowers hanging over and one that does, and so I was actually able to get the potted flowers on top. And I thought that the railings looked really nice with the green swatches for the doorways and stuff. So I used that for the front entrance over here, and also up top I've used, they have some of those doors that have just the archways, but then they have some of them that have the open door effect that is really cute. And so I used the open door archways for each of the sort of towers that I end up turning into bedrooms. This build ends up having 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. I'm surprised I managed 3 bedrooms in this, but I thought it would be really nice to make each of the towers its own separate room. And so you walk outside on the balcony and it leads to a different section of the castle for each of the rooms, which I thought was really nice and also really peaceful looking. As I was building, I really thought that all of this would look really nice with the romantic garden stuff pack, which is one of my favorite stuff packs. And I almost considered using it in this build too. I was like, wow, I feel like maybe I should use that just for the landscaping. But I stopped myself and I was like, I'm just going to use the new packs. But I think this will go really well with a lot of the flowers that come in the romantic garden stuff pack. Like, I could see some of my favorite flowers working really well, especially with this wisteria that I placed on the build. It comes in a few swatches. It comes in like a darker purple, and then it comes with like a purplish pink and a white flower one. And I decided to go with the white flower one because I thought that it just looked the best with what I had already picked out. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna use these white flowers for this. And I really liked the green roof for like the roof peaks on this, where I don't have the railings there. I think it blends in really nicely with all the other green pieces that I had. So you can see some of the swatches of that. But I feel like the purple, it just like stood out way too much. And I really wanted the light greens to pop out more than anything else. And if I put the purple would have been what my eye was being drawn to a lot more than anything else. And we did get two new trees. So I have one right there that I placed down, and we have a really beautiful olive tree too that I use around the build that looks really beautiful as well. Some statues. So I had this idea when I had seen the statue that I wanted to have like sort of a fancy multi-level garden and have some sort of patio area lower down where that statue would be. So I just like pulled it out and like threw it over there for now until I decided everything else that I wanted to do with the landscape. I do end up adding in a little greenhouse because of the Tea Time Solarium kit. I was like, I feel like I really want to use these new windows. That's what I was most excited about when I had seen the like announcement for all of the new stuff was the windows that was coming in the new kit. So I wanted to make sure that I had a place for that. And I'm glad that I did because I made that little greenhouse off to the side, which allowed me to connect that to the build, which then allowed me to connect that sort of patio down to the other garden space that I made. So it like ended up all flowing really naturally and coming together well. You'll probably see or have seen me trying to use some of the smaller windows that came with the kit. They were like white framed windows that I was trying to put at the base of the build, but I swapped them out for the ones that I have in the front of the build here, where it's like a cutout into the stone, which I thought was really cute. And so I wanted to keep that. And I imagined having those spaces as hallways where you could kind of look right outside. It kind of feels like it's half outside, half inside. So I use that for the connecting hallways and for the kitchen area. And then all of like the other spaces use some of the new expansion pack windows, which are really nice windows too. Some of them kind of reminded me of windows that we got from like business and hobbies and also life and death. It kind of like gave me that feel, except for these ones that I use in like a lot of the areas where it's like the double window with more of like the triangular peak at the top. Those I really love. And so I use them in a lot of spaces, but it's just like I really love that window and I like the curve of the window panes. It feels a lot more like whimsical than the other ones that I used. And the stone that I used in this build is also from the new expansion pack. This one reminds me a bit like the Castle Estate stone that we got because there are like the more like dirty pieces that you can have up top or like on the trim below, except this one has some moss swatches, which I think is really nice. And so I used a bunch of the moss at the bottom, and also there are some like mossy swatches for the foundations too. So I mix and match those together. So some areas of the build have like the mossy foundation, some have just the plain stone foundation, which you can see around here. And I was still trying to see if I wanted to use the purple. I really love the purple and pink flowers on those ones, but I didn't end up using it. I'll use it one day though, because I thought that was like the prettiest swatch out of all of them. Wasn't for this specific build, but the second swatch is my favorite, which is like the one that has a little bit of pink in it. Because we don't usually get wisteria that has like different sort of like gradients of the colors. It's usually like a solid color, and that one has a mixture of both, which I really loved. And it's always nice to get some new sort of like ivy pieces or flowers to decorate walls of builds that aren't in debug or live edit. So I was really happy to see this. There's also another flower that is kind of like the ones from Jungle Adventure. It's like the same color swatches and sort of the same leaves, except it is like very small compared to like it's like maybe a quarter of a tile of like height, which was really pretty. I didn't use it in this, but that is another one that came in this. I haven't even looked at any of the live edit or debug items from the pack, so I'm sure that there's like a bunch of really pretty stuff that I can explore in another build at some point. But usually I feel like my first builds with a pack, I tend to just forget about the live edit and debug cheats because I always build with Better Build Buy on, which it's usually like on by default when I have that mod installed. So if I don't, I kind of just forget to put in the cheats, which is kind of nice. You get to just see what is in the game. And this one really does have quite a lot of build by. I haven't explored like the other areas of the pack that much. So I can't really comment on like the cast and the gameplay. Like I haven't done any gameplay, so I really don't know what any of that is like. But for the build buy, I was really impressed by the amount of items that we got and the fact that we got like two different styles in this pack, and both of them, I felt like we got a lot of items for each, which was really cool to see. Over here, though, I'm using more of the items from the Tea Time Solarium kit. So you can see that those were the windows that I had mentioned before, and that was like what I was most excited for. I get really excited for any stained glass option, so when we get a new one, I'm really happy. And at first, I thought that the only stained glass option was the darker wood, which I felt like stood out way too much with the rest of the build. And thankfully, I realized that there is a like white framed version that has the stained glass too, because that more matches the rest of the build. But I do like the darker brown swatch of those ones. That's my favorite swatch and might be sort of my favorite thing that we've gotten. I'm gonna use those quite a bit. And there's like these smaller windows that came in the kit too that I'm sort of adding around some of the window peaks. I believe I removed them from the front because I felt like they were just like too much was going on over there, which maybe I don't know. I don't remember if I removed them or not. Everything gets changed to a different swatch and then I fix whatever I don't like for it. I don't know when that actually happens. But I did line some of the windows with the white wisteria flowers here. I love those flowers a lot. And so here is when I decide to connect the two together, which I think is really what helped this build because I didn't want the sort of like greenhouse area or sunroom to feel like an afterthought because it was an afterthought, but I didn't want it to feel like that. And so I just like tried to connect it to the build and make it flow a little bit more naturally. I really wanted to use the new spandrels because I really like how they looked, but I wasn't able to actually make them work in this build because I was like, I don't really want a covering on top of this. I just want this to be a just like a patio area and I didn't want to have like another balcony over top of it. So I just went with this. I'll use the spandrels in another build at some point. But yeah, now I'm like, okay, this is all coming together. It feels connected now. Now I can add another doorway leading outside to here. So it's like the home flows really nicely with the outside, which I really love. And yeah, you can see me noticing that there is a swatch that uses the white trim with some stained glass on it. I just like quickly looked through the swatches and I didn't see it. And so I was like disappointed too quickly, but I was able to find it. And I probably will never really use the white swatch of that again because I really like the darker brown wood with the stained glass because the stained glass pops a lot more with that one. This one is way more subtle, which is also maybe why I missed it when I was kind of looking around. But the patio that connects the sunroom to the rest of the build really helped me to get started on the actual sort of like terrain. Well, kind of terrain. I just lowered a little bit. It's not really anything too intense. When I had started this, I was thinking of maybe wanting to raise up the castle to be higher on a hill, but I don't have tool mod installed right now. And so that kind of scared me a little bit to play around with raised terrain too much when I can't just easily put in some rocks to hide some of the terrain paint. Like over here, I lower this down into the ground a little bit, and then I just soften the slope out so that you don't really see the terrain paint, but it like still allows me to use the staircases, which is what I really wanted. I wanted them to like walk down the one set of stairs to get down to another lower area of the garden. And so just softening the terrain a little bit allowed me to do that. You'll see some of the new bushes that also came in the expansion pack. They kind of remind me of the base game hydrangeas, but they just like look a little bit softer to me. They don't look exactly the same. They're definitely done very differently, and they're a lot smaller than those ones, and they come in different colorways. I am using the white ones. I feel like they come in similar swatches as the like wisteria that I have on the build, but I could be wrong. I don't remember the exact swatches. Oh wait, no, there's a lot more than that because I'm pretty sure there's a lot of different pale colors. Like I think there's a pale yellow or pale orange that I almost used in this. So there was quite a few options in those ones. And this was when I was like, I kind of want to use the romantic garden stuff because I know that this landscape will look so pretty with that. But I stopped myself and I was like, I'm only going to use the new stuff, even though I know that this stuff pack is going to look really nice with this. So instead, I just stuck with the new pack stuff. This was the olive tree that I'd mentioned before. I really love the look of that tree. I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of use out of that item, as well as that smaller tree too. I don't like it as much. I think that something about the leaves looks a bit strange to me, but I'm probably going to use that anyway. It's like that tree kind of feels like it would be in like the live edit or debug stuff. I think that's why it's throwing me off. I use a lot of live edit trees, so I'm still going to use it, but I think it just looked a bit like out of place compared to some of the like other actual like pack items. And then to fill in the landscape quicker, I just did a bunch of overgrown grass, and I thought, hey, maybe I'll make the inside a little bit run down, which didn't actually end up happening because all these items are so pretty. I just like I couldn't make it run down, and so it just looks really nice on the inside, and the outside they just don't mow the lawn, I guess. Also, I was very shocked that we got so many new terrain paints. If you had just seen right then, we got a lot. I didn't look through all of them. I picked one that I thought would work and I put it down, but we have so many, and it's like finally making up for the fact that we haven't really gotten much terrain paint in like any packs like recently. Like I really can't remember the last time we got a lot of terrain paints, and like I'm sure that we've gotten some in some of the more recent packs, but to me the only ones I can fully remember is like the horse ranch dirt because that's what I use like the most. So I really don't remember the last time we got some, but we got a lot of them, and this stone one looks really nice. And then I just blended it into the landscape a little bit by adding some stones around it and then placing some stones in the rest of the landscape just to like not make it feel completely off balanced. I wanted to have some stone elements in the other areas of the landscape, so that's what I ended up doing. And for like the inside of the build, I think I cut out me doing the floor plan. You can see where I placed the stairs. These are some new staircases that have like a rug or carpet on it, which like I don't think we have anything like that in the Sims 4. I know that we have like stairs with rugs in The Sims 2, but I don't think we have a single one in The Sims 4 except for this one now. And it comes in a really pretty green color. I use a lot of the green swatches. I just love green in builds. So that's really just what I went with in my first build with the pack. There's some really pretty green tiles too that I use in like one of the hallways in the builds. And I don't know, I really like the tiles that came in this, so I'm excited to be able to, like, go over that a little bit when it actually gets to that point. We still have a little ways to go because after I place the stairs down, I instantly go into the sunroom because I wanted to see the new, like, tea time kit because that's what I was really excited to explore. And, yeah, there I was kinda looking to see what railings I wanted to use on the inside, but none of them really seem to fit what I wanted for this, so I just used some base game ones, but the base game ones look really nice with that. It was like either that or I used like the stone that I used outside with the flowers on it, which I didn't want to do, but the base game ones work like completely fine for that. So you'll see that where I laid out the staircases for the builds, and later when I do the big leap to the floor plan, I could explain the process a little bit more. But at least for this level of the build, it really just functions as a stairwell to like the top tower bedroom, and I wanted to just like close off the space that leads outside because it felt very open and I didn't want like the wood floor directly going to the stone. It like looked weird to me, which I end up doing in another part of the build, I think. So I guess I'm picky in some areas and other areas I don't care apparently. But I'm glad that I did it that way because I actually really do like that like stairwell that leads out to a little hallway that has like the two archways that go off to the other bedrooms. I don't know. I think it looks nice. But now I am working on the sunroom, which I was really excited about. I was really looking forward to looking through the swatches of this and find which ones are my favorite. So I went with this like yellow or cream floral tablecloth one with the matching chairs that go with it. I love the fern pots that came in this as well. And the cute little food items that we got. We got a couple of them. I was really excited to see those. And another new little like teapot tray where you can serve tea and other little decorations. We have that fountain with the flowers in it, which is from the new kit that worked really well outside. I put it in a couple of places. It looks really nice with the Royalty and Legacy expansion pack. This umbrella too that I put on the patio outside, and I put another small table with a couple of chairs, and I do like one of the little like cream and sugar containers on the table, and one of the like little like hand fans that came with the Royalty and Legacy pack. Like these packs just worked really well together, and I was really excited to get to use these ones. So I'm glad that I made the little sunroom off to the side because it allowed me to actually use these items a lot quicker instead of having to wait for like a completely different build to actually use the windows that I was looking forward to. There was a little like stereo that looks like a rock too that I thought was really cool. I didn't add it to this build, but that's definitely something that I think I would like to use in future builds. When I get back into gameplay, I think that's sort of like something that I would most likely like to use too in my homes. I love these big potted planters out here with the flowers that hang down. I add those throughout the hallway inside too, but those I believe are from the expansion pack because now I'm picking from both the expansion and the kit. The thing I was most excited to see in the new expansion pack was what sort of clutter items we got because my expectations going into this, I didn't think I was gonna find a lot for me in this. I was like, okay, I could probably use some of like the sword fighting stuff in a build, but I'm not sure if the furniture is stuff that I'm going to be able to use because it all looked very expensive and my builds don't usually look very expensive. So I was like, I don't know if this is going to be my style. So I'm going to like hold on to hope that there's some really good clutter items. And now it's like I love all the furniture and I love the clutter items. So I was like really spoiled with this pack. This is the tiles that I had mentioned earlier. These ones I was really happy to see. They look really nice. I love the green with the yellow. I'll have to remember to talk about the floor plan too, because I took a break in between some of this voiceover. And now that I started it again, it's like my dog waits for me to be busy to like cry outside my door because he hasn't been like bothering me at all. And the moment I start working on something, he's there waiting. And it's like, at first I was like, oh, maybe it's because he hears my voice. But I was trying to edit this last night too, and I wasn't like talking or anything. So it's like he just knows when I'm busy now. But I did also want to say that I really love the bathtub, and I'm happy that somehow one of my bathrooms is big enough to actually fit the bathtub without me having to do it intentionally. So my bathrooms are usually a lot smaller than this, but it just was a very odd space left over in here. So I ended up getting a pretty big bathroom that is able to fit the new tub. And you'll see that me switching back and forth quite a bit to change the lighting. I'm so used to having Better Build Buy installed where I can just like shift click and I can change the lighting, but I don't have any of my mods installed right now. So you'll see me every so often going back and forth to just like fix that a little bit. I was using my Christmas fairy sim that I had made for my Christmas cottage I made in December, and she looks a little bit different though because all my CC I also took out. So like all the CC like skin details and stuff went missing, but this doesn't really matter anyway. I don't know why I'm going on about that. For this bathroom now though, I really just put in some of the new items. I don't think we got a new toilet. If we got a new toilet, I didn't use it. So that I used this base game one that matches everything fine. I was adding in some candles, a little robe. Yeah, I had to move the robe because I put the candles there. And I was like, that's gonna catch on fire, even though that's not even possible in the game. I wanted to see if I could fit the like new fern in from the kit, but it was a little bit too big for the space. And a lot of the items are going to be floating if I have to raise them up because I don't have tool mod installed. Like my medieval tavern, I was saying how I was like, oh yeah, I might fix the floating items if I install tool mod, but then we got the update and I was scared because they kept saying that the mods are breaking and you don't want your mods in your game. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to upload that to the gallery and I don't want to risk like messing up my game anymore. So that's going to be floating in the medieval tavern, and there's going to be some floating items in here. It's hard to notice though, unless you're like zoomed in, taking pictures of the build or something. You wouldn't really be able to tell that that was floating over there. Another thing I loved was that thing I just placed in the kitchen. And I know I'm going to get a lot of use out of that. There's also some really nice rugs. I really love the floral rug pattern in this pack. You can see it on the stairs there too. I think it's very pretty. I'm gonna use a lot of this stuff. It was like because what was the last expansion pack? It was the Adventure Awaits one, and I didn't see like a whole lot that I would knew that I would use pretty often, but this one I definitely love pretty much like every item in the pack, and I'll definitely get a lot of use out of a lot of this stuff. And these are the new counters and this really pretty oven and stove, which I'm like, to me, when I look at this, it just feels like a Sims 1 item. Like the level of just like style that item has, I'm like, this would be in the Sims 1, not in the Sims 4. So it's really cool that we have something like that in the Sims 4. And I had this weird extra tile in the kitchen that when I was setting up the floor plan, I thought that the fridge would go over there, but I kind of like the fridge next to the cabinet with the ladder. And so I needed to figure out how to fill in that space. So I just put in a counter with some cabinets there, which is maybe good because I didn't put any cabinets anywhere else. Because I really liked those windows that go right outside, and I thought it would look weird to have cabinets above that. I felt like it would take away, make it look way too closed in. And so it's nice that I was able to just throw some cabinets over there. I was trying to fit in a little cabinet with like the plates in it, but it didn't fit behind that door. So I was like, I don't actually need that. But my mindset when I was making this floor plan was that I wanted the hallways to just like feel very grand and feel like it was part of the outside. And then I just kind of like made rooms based off of that. Like the kitchen naturally felt like it belonged right here because I felt like the dining room off to the left was the perfect spot for the dining room. Then it would be the kitchen would be close to the dining room. That then there was like that little extra space to the side that I felt was perfect for a bathroom. And then towards like the front of the build, I end up having just like a tiny little study space, which is perfect because I didn't really have any other places for desks because I made all the other spaces in the house a like bedroom. And I think the kitchen is done. And I feel like for like the first time, I'm using like every single pack item for the kitchen because normally I'm like I always use like a base game cabinet or like maybe we don't always get a full set in the kitchen, but this one we did get a full set. We have like the oven, the stove, the fridge, the sink, and all the cabinets and stuff. So I was able to just like use all of the new items except for like the one oil lamp I put on the side over there. Everything is from the new expansion pack. And then this is the dining room. I wanted to fit this table in because this table reminds me of a table that we had in The Sims 2, which was one of my favorite tables. I used it all the time. And so when I'd seen that, I was like, wow, this reminds me so much of that table. And so I wanted a nice big grand table in here. I said table so many times. It's making me annoyed with myself, but I don't know how to stop saying it. But I love those tiles that I used in the dining room too. It's the same ones that I used in the bathroom and the kitchen, just different swatches. I loved each of these swatches, so I wanted to try to use each of them in the build. So I have like this one that has like tan framing with blue and green in the middle, and in the kitchen is just plain white tile, and then in the bathroom I used the green. Those were like my favorite ones. So I'm glad that I was able to fit each of them in there without it feeling like completely out of place or like overwhelming to have so many different like patterns and colors on the floors when you look from above. I remember really struggling when I was picking out the floors because I wasn't sure what I wanted and I didn't want all tile throughout, but I was able to break some of it up by using some of the wood floors in that like hallway and probably in the living room, I don't remember. And I love that clock that we got. I was gonna try and use that in the living room at first, but I felt like this was the perfect spot for it in the house, so I have it here, and then I delete the one that I had placed in the living room. And you can see the how the tile kind of like feels like it gets cut off it like going into the outside with the stone. And that's what I was trying to avoid upstairs too. But I just like couldn't be bothered with really confronting it down here. Also, I had when I was placing those tiles, I had to readjust them to like using like I forgot which keys it is, but I had to rotate the tiles myself to actually make the large single tile because every time I would shift click, it would auto place them in like a weird way that it didn't really flow naturally. And so I had to like just do it myself. So if you get the pack and you're like, why is the tiles acting this way? You're probably gonna have to rotate them like I did. And if I had known that I had to do that, I probably would have made sure that I made the spaces like the correct amount of tiles to actually have the 4 tile like thing on each one instead of some of them have just like half of it because that's just how it turned out. And I was looking through it and because normally we get like the bordering tiles and we like kind of make our own. I didn't really see that unless I just like missed it, which is likely. Sometimes I just and building quickly and I miss little things like that. I tried to look in like the tiles and I didn't see anything. So that's what I ended up just going with and ignoring the fact that some of the tiles looked a bit strange because that doesn't really bother me too much when I'm kind of just like looking at the build overall. And I am using pretty much all, yeah, I'm using all of the new framed art pieces in the game, but I sized some of them down just to make a gallery wall because they are like huge family portraits. And so I was like, okay, I could fit all of these if I make a little like gallery wall over here. And I think it looks good. And it's just a very tiny living room over here. I'm using one of the new fireplaces. There's another one that is really pretty that has different like candles on it, which I think is one that I'm going to use in a lot of builds. But I didn't think it fit the style very well. So I put in this fireplace instead. And I swapped out the large clock for just a little console table off to the side, which fit the space better anyway. And I love the candles that we got with the little crystals hanging off. It's really pretty. Love that mirror. I don't think I put the mirror down here, but I do use the mirror somewhere else. There's like that little, like, I don't know, a little spyglass, is it? I put that somewhere else. I put that in like 2 places. I have it in like the study space and I put it upstairs with the new telescope out on the balcony. And now that we're on this side of the house, I will mention that I did put like doorways and archways in different hallways that uses the more open windows because I wanted that part to feel like it was outside a little bit. So I tried to just make it a little bit separate from some of the main living areas. Like the study has a glass door that you go through to it, there's like an archway that leads over to the living room, and then another archway that leads to the other like outdoor connecting hallway down to another door that goes into the dining room. So that was kind of my thought process for having the mixture of the different windows, where I have these ones that are closed and then other areas of the house have the just like open window. Before I move away from this, you could see like we got a lot of rugs in this pack and they all are like really nice. There's a cute woven rug too that I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of use out of, and I'm pretty sure a lot of other people are going to get a lot of use out of. And then like the other rugs, like the runners and stuff, are pretty similar to other rugs that we have, but I'm always happy to have like some different variety and patterns and stuff. So it was nice to have that. And this is the first bedroom that I was working on. I decided to just like plan which beds I was going to use. This, like the four-post bed right here, this was like the item that I had first seen when I was looking at the furniture stuff. And I loved it. And then we have just like the single bed of that because we don't have a lot of single beds that have like the four posts like that. So that's my favorite item in the furniture. My dog started barking, but that bed is like what I've been waiting for in every single pack. And so I'm really happy to have a bed like that. It'll fit like so many of my builds. I also really like this bed in this room though. Like this room is so tiny. And at first I was like, I guess this is just like the throwaway room that I'm not really gonna like that much because it's such a strange shape and there's not a lot of space in here, but it ends up being my favorite. And it's like I just love the color palette in here. I love the color wood of this furniture. Each one is like I like the vanity looks like a little bit lighter than the other pieces, which I like. And I love the rug choice that I picked out in here. This red one, I feel like it tied everything together really well. And it's just decorated a lot nicer. I think it's because it is so small, so it required a lot less furniture in here, but it is, I think, my favorite bedroom. I also like the bedroom on the upper tower after two that uses the four-post single bed that I just was talking about. The larger bedroom, I think it's nice, but it just doesn't have as much as the other rooms in it. And so I like the single bedrooms a little bit better. And then I'm remembering that I had to put in some curtains. And luckily, I'm not fighting too hard right now with the fact that I don't have in my like free curtain placement mod, which lets me just alt place curtains wherever I want. These ones actually snapped on in like really good places for it, and so I really didn't have any trouble. But I love the curtains, and there's like a lot of different swatches and prints and stuff, and I use like a slight variety of some of them, but I think I've really just used like two different ones. I think I use one with the print and then just like the sheer white one, maybe like the sheer cream one too. I think with this bigger bedroom, my issue was that I was trying to fit furniture in that just wasn't going to fit. And also, I had to like kind of put the side tables in a weird position as well because of the shape of the room. And those side tables really remind me of that nursery kit that we had gotten. Like I don't know when that was, like a year ago maybe. I don't remember. But that's what those ones reminded me of, but it has some like different wood swatches that I'm actually kind of able to use in more of my builds because the other ones I remember having just like a lot of different colors that only works if I have that specific color palette that I'm going for. But these ones are a lot more neutral. And looking at this bedroom, I know I was like hating on it before. And I said, this is my least favorite one. I actually like it now that I'm looking at it. I think I was remembering sort of like the other swatches that I had originally picked out. But I think having some of the lighter wood furniture and then having the darker wood bed, like contrasting it looks really nice. And I love the lamps that we got too from the new pack. I have those sitting on each side of the bed. And now up here is what I thought was my favorite bedroom, but I think I actually just really like the smaller tower bedroom. But I do love this bed so much. I think that's like the perfect brown swatch for the wood and also the bedding. That's like the bed that is going to work for a lot of my builds. And it looks really nice with the base game side table that I use all of the time. And these like the candle holders on the wall, I do like them. I just think that they're a little bit like too big. If they were slightly smaller, I think I would use them a lot more. If I can size them down without the flames looking weird, then I think I would use them more. But I have like other candles that I think I would reach for over those and maybe use those in like some more like whimsical builds because I do like the shape that they went for of that one. And I really can't believe that I'm almost done with this voiceover because if you've been watching my recent videos, I've had to split up my builds into two parts because I haven't really been feeling that inspired lately. And also, voiceovers for 40 minutes at a time has been difficult. And so I started this voiceover a day early because I was like, oh my God, this is double what I've been doing. I don't think I can do this. But I was really excited about these items. So it's a lot easier to talk when it's something like brand new that I have a lot to say about. And before too, when I was putting like some of the voiceover, I was like, oh my God, did I like speed this up? And it's like, no, Megan, you're just talking a lot faster because you're excited about what you're seeing. I definitely needed something new to inspire me a little bit, and this pack was perfect for that because it really is a lot of what I usually tend to build with, and it's just like a lot of new candles, a lot of antique looking furniture, just like very whimsical looking things here and there. It all just there's a lot of items that I can get a lot of use out of. And this bathroom, I pretty much just used the same stuff I used downstairs before. I'm sorry I sounded so confused about that. It's because I was looking at the bathroom and I thought I was going to use the new mirror that came with the pack, but that new mirror is for like taller walls. I think it wouldn't have really fit in there. So I was like, I was confused because I was like, did I not use that mirror? What did I end up using? I just used one of the base game mirrors, which is one of my favorite things. And then I remember to furnish the little balcony space connecting some of the bedrooms. And I want it sort of like a little study area out here where like maybe they're like studying the stars. And I don't know why I didn't think maybe just a desk right away because I really liked that console table that came with the pack. And then I was like, oh, I don't know. Maybe I could get more space if I use a counter. And then I was like, wait a minute, I could just use a desk. And then I was like, oh, even better, they have that desk, but they had the console table that I wanted to use, but as a bigger desk. So it all worked out. And I already know that I'm going to use that desk a lot. I really, that, like, those pieces of wooden furniture look so good, and I couldn't really fit them that much into this build, but I know that I'm going to use them in a lot of my other builds. And it makes sense that I like that desk and those tables so much because it has the same sort of wood pattern as the two beds that I love. And out here, I forgot that I wanted to add another statue, and I put a little like buffet table out here that came with the tea room kit. I was going to place a bar in here, and then I actually just forgot it, and I just put the buffet table instead. And I found this open book randomly when I was looking through, so I wanted to place that because I thought it was really cute, and then it led me to placing some of these little like draping fabrics around. I put that in a couple of places. Do I add anything else to the kitchen? Maybe not. I did put this chandelier out here though, which I thought was really cool and interesting. That it like has ivy pieces hanging on it. And this too, when I had like placed these and I realized that there's a swatch with ivy coming out of it, I was amazed. And now all that's left are the screenshots of the build. I took one of pretty much each room. I'm actually really surprised that I managed 3 bedrooms in this fairly small build. I mean, the downstairs has quite a bit of space, but the upstairs really is just towers. So I'm amazed that I somehow fit 3 bedrooms. And it really is because I use the balcony spaces as hallways, which I actually really liked, and maybe I'll do again in a future build sometime. because I've never really done that before. I've never even thought to do that before. So it's like one of those things that I didn't even think that I could do. But thank you so much for watching. I plan to have a small cottage build up next week on Wednesday using a bunch of the packs so that I can use some of the new items with some of my favorites. So that is what you can expect from me next week. So I will see you then. Bye.